Yochanan, John, chapter 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Elohim, and the Word was Elohim. He was in the beginning with Elohim. All came to be through him, and without him not even one came to be that came to be. In him was Chai, and the Chai was the light of men. And the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. There was a man sent from Elohim, whose name was Yochanan. This one came for a witness, to bear witness of the light, that all might believe through him. He was not that light, but that he might bear witness of that light. He was the true light, which enlightens every man coming into the world. He was in the world, and the world came to be through him, and the world did not know him. He came to his own, and his own did not receive him. But as many as received him, to them he gave the authority to become children of Elohim, to those believing in his name, who were born not of blood, nor of the desire of flesh, nor of the desire of man, but of Elohim. And the Word became flesh and pitched his tent among us, and we saw his esteem as of an only brought forth of a Father, complete in favor and truth. Yochanan bore witness of him and cried out, saying,
This was he of whom I said, He who comes after me has become before me, because he was before me.
And out of his completeness we all received, and favor upon favor, for the Torah was given through Moshe. The favor and the truth came through Yahshua Mashiach. No one has ever seen Yahweh, the only brought forth Bain, who is in the bosom of the Father, he declared. Now this was the witness of Yochanan, when the Yahudim sent from Yerushalayim Kohanim and Levites to ask him,
Who are you?
And he confessed, and did not deny, but confessed.
I am not HaMashiach.
And they asked him,
Who then? Are you Eliyahu?
So he said,
I am not.
Are you the Navi?
And he answered,
No.
Therefore they said to him,
Who are you? So that we give an answer to those who sent us. What do you say about yourself?
He said,
I am a voice of one crying in the wilderness, Make straight the way of Yahweh, as the Nabi Yeshayahu said.
And those sent were of the Pharisees. And they asked him, saying,
Why then do you immerse, if you are not HaMashiach, nor Eliyahu, nor the Navi?
Yochanan answered them, saying,
I immerse in water, but in your midst stands one whom you do not know, the one coming after me, who has become before me, whose sandal strap I am not worthy to loosen.
This took place in Beth Avarah, beyond the Jordan, where Yochanan was immersing. On the next day, Yochanan saw Yahshua coming toward him, and said,
See, the Lamb of Yahweh who takes away the sin of the world. This is he of whom I said, After me comes a man who has become before me. For he was before me, and I did not know him, but that he might be revealed to Yisrael. Therefore I came immersing in water.
And Yochanan bore witness, saying,
I have seen the Ruach coming down from the Shamayim like a dove, and remain on him. And I did not know him, but he who sent me to immerse in water said to me, Upon whom you see the Ruach coming down and remaining on him, this is he who immerses in the Ruach HaKodesh. And I have seen and have witnessed that this is the bin of Yahweh.
Again, the following day, Yochanan was standing with two of his Talmidim, and looking at Yeshua walking, he said,
See, the Lamb of Yahweh.
and the two Talmudim heard him speaking, and they followed Yeshua. And Yeshua, turning and seeing them following, said to them,
What do you seek?
and they said to him,
Rabbi,
which translated means teacher.
where are you staying?
He said to them,
Come and see.
They went and saw where he was staying and remained with him that day. Now it was about the 10th hour. Andri, the brother of Shimon Kepha, was one of the two who heard from Yochanan and followed him. First he found his own brother Shimon and said to him,
We have found HaMashiach.
which interpreted is the Anointed. And he brought him to Yeshua. And looking at him, Yeshua said,
You are Shimon, the son of Yonah. You shall be called Kepha.
which translated is a stone. On the following day, Yeshua wanted to go to Galilee, and he found Philippus and said to him,
Follow me.
and Philippus was from Beth Saida, the city of Andri and Kepha. Philippus found Nathanael and said to him,
We have found him whom Moshe wrote of in the Torah and the Nevi'im, Yahushua of Nazareth, the son of Joseph.
and Nathanael said to him,
Is it possible for any good to come out of Nazareth?
Philippus said to him,
Come and see.
Yeshua saw Nathanael coming toward him and said of him,
See, truly a Yisraelite, in whom is no deceit.
Nathanael said to him,
From where do you know me?
Yeshua answered and said to him,
Before Philippus called you, when you were under the fig tree, I saw you.
Nathanael answered and said to him,
Rabbi, you are the bane of Elohim. You are the sovereign of Israel.
Yeshua answered and said to him,
Because I said to you, I saw you under the fig tree, do you believe? Greater than that you shall see.
and he said to him,
Truly, truly, I say to you, from now on you shall see the Shamayim open, and the messengers of Elohim ascending and descending upon the bane of Adam.
Yochanan, John, chapter 19. Then, therefore, Pilatus took Yeshua and flogged. And the soldiers plaited a crown of thorns and placed it on his head, and they put a purple robe on him and came to him and said,
Greetings, sovereign of the Yahudim.
and they slapped him in the face. And Pilatus went outside again and said to them,
See, I am bringing him out to you, to let you know that I find no guilt in him.
Then Yeshua came outside, wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe. And Pilatus said to them,
See, the man.
So when the chief Kohanim and officers saw him, they shouted, saying,
Impale! Impale!
Pilatus said to them,
You take him and impale him, for I find no guilt in him.
The Yahudim answered him,
We have a law, and according to our law, he ought to die, for he has made himself the bane of Elohim.
So when Pilatus heard this word, he was more afraid and went back into the palace and asked Yeshua.
Where are you from?
But Yeshua gave him no answer. Then Pilatus said to him,
Do you not speak to me? Do you not know that I possess authority to impale you, and I possess authority to release you?
Yeshua answered,
You would possess no authority against me if it were not given you from above. Because of this, he who delivered me to you has greater sin.
From then on, Pilatus was seeking to release him. But the Yahudim shouted, saying,
If you release this one, you are not Caesar's friend. Everyone who makes himself a sovereign speaks against Caesar.
Therefore, when Pilatus heard these words, he brought Yeshua out and sat down in the judgment seat in a place that is called Pavement, but in Ivri, Gabbatha. And it was the preparation of the Pesach, and about the 6th hour. And he said to the Yahudim,
See your sovereign.
But they shouted,
Away! Away! Impale him!
Pilatus said to them,
Shall I impale your sovereign?
The chief Kohanim answered,
We have no sovereign except Caesar.
At that time, then, he delivered him to them to be impaled. And they took Yeshua and led away. And bearing his stake, he went out to the so-called place of a skull, which is called in Ivri, Golgotha, where they impaled him, and 2 others with him, one on this side and one on that side, and Yeshua in the middle. And Pilatus wrote a title too, and put it on the stake, and it was written, Yeshua of Nazareth, the sovereign of the Yahudim. Many of the Yahudim therefore read this title, for the place where Yeshua was impaled was near the city, and it was written in Ivri, in Yahwanite, in Roman. So the chief Kohanim of the Yahudim said to Pilatus,
Do not write the sovereign of the Yahudim. But he said, I am the sovereign of the Yahudim.
Pilatus answered,
What I have written, I have written.
Then the soldiers, when they had impaled Yeshua, took his outer garments and made 4 parts, to each soldier a part, and the inner garment. But the inner garment was without seam, woven from the top in one piece. So they said to each other,
Let us not tear it, but cast lots for it, whose it shall be.
in order that the scripture might be filled, which says, They divided my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots. The soldiers therefore indeed did this. And by the stake of Yeshua stood his mother, and his mother's sister, Miriam, the wife of Chelef, and Miriam from Magdala. Then Yeshua, seeing his mother and the Talmid whom he loved standing by, he said to his mother,
Woman, see your son.
Then to the Talmid he said,
See your mother.
And from that hour that Talmid took her to his own home. After this, Yeshua, knowing that all had been accomplished, in order that the scripture might be accomplished, said,
I thirst.
A bowl of vinegar stood there, and they filled a sponge with vinegar, put it on hyssop, and held it to his mouth. So when Yeshua took the vinegar, he said,
It has been accomplished.
And bowing his head, he gave up his spirit. Therefore, since it was the preparation that the bodies should not remain on the stake on the Shabbat, for that Shabbat was a high one, the Yahudim asked Pilatus to have their legs broken and be taken away. Therefore the soldiers came and broke the legs of the first and of the other who was impaled with him. But when they came to Yeshua and saw that he was already dead, they did not break his legs. But one of the soldiers pierced his side with a spear, and instantly blood and water came out. And he who has seen has witnessed, and his witness is true, and he knows that he is speaking the truth in order that you might believe. For this took place in order for the scripture to be filled. Not one of his bones shall be broken. And again, another scripture says, They shall look on him whom they pierced. And after this, Yosef of Ramathaim, being a Talmid of Yeshua, but secretly, for fear of the Yahudim, asked Pilatus that he might take the body of Yeshua, and Pilatus gave permission. Therefore he came and took the body of Yeshua. And Nachdimon, who at first came to Yeshua by night, also came, bringing a mixture of myrrh and aloes, about 100 litras. Then they took the body of Yeshua and bound it in linen wrappings with the spices, as was the habit of the Yahudim for burial. And at the place where he was impaled, there was a garden, and in the garden a fresh tomb in which no one had yet been laid. There then, because of the preparation of the Yahudim, they laid Yeshua, because the tomb was near. Yochanan, John, chapter 20. And on one of the Shabbathoth, Miriam from Magdala came to the tomb in the morning, when it was still dim, and saw that the stone had been removed from the tomb. So she ran and came to Shimon Kepha and to the other Talmid whom Yeshua loved, and said to them,
They have taken the Adon out of the tomb, and we do not know where they laid him.
Then Kepha and the other Talmid went out, and they were going to the tomb, and the two were running together. But the other Talmid outran Kepha and came to the tomb first. And stooping down, he saw the linen wrappings lying, but he did not go in. Then Shimon Kepha came, following him, and went into the tomb. And he saw the linen wrappings lying, and the cloth which had been on his head, not lying with the linen wrappings, but folded up in a place by itself. So then the other Talmid who came to the tomb first also went in, and he saw and believed. For they did not yet know the scripture, that he has to rise again from the dead. Therefore the Talmidim went away again by themselves. But Miriam was standing outside by the tomb, weeping. Then, as she wept, she stooped down to the tomb and saw two messengers in white, sitting, one at the head and the other at the feet, where the body of Yeshua had been laid. And they said to her,
Woman, why do you weep?
She said to them,
Because they took away Adonai, and I do not know where they laid him.
And having said this, she turned around and saw Yeshua standing, but she did not know that it was Yeshua. Yeshua said to her,
Woman, why do you weep? Whom do you seek?
Thinking he was the gardener, she said to him,
Adonai, if you have carried him away, say to me where you put him, and I shall take him away.
Yeshua said to her,
Miriam.
She turned and said to him,
Rabboni,
which translated is, Teacher. Yeshua said to her,
Do not hold on to me, for I have not yet ascended to my Father. But go to my brothers and say to them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, and to my Elohim and your Elohim.
Miriam from Magdala came, announcing to the Talmidim that she had seen the Adon, and that he had told her this. When therefore it was evening on that day, one of the Shabbathoth, and when the doors were shut where the Talmidim met, for fear of the Yahudim, Yeshua came and stood in the midst, and said to them,
Peace to you.
And having said this, he showed them his hands and his side. The Talmidim therefore rejoiced when they saw the Adon. Then Yeshua said to them again,
Peace to you. As the Father has sent me, I also send you.
And having said this, he breathed on them, and said to them,
Receive the Ruach HaKodesh. If you forgive the sins of any, they are forgiven them. If you retain the sins of any, they have been retained.
But Ta'alma, called the twin, one of the 12, was not with them when Yeshua came. So the other Talmidim said to him,
We have seen the Adon.
But he said to them,
Unless I see in his hands the mark of the nails, and put my finger into the imprint of the nails, and put my hand into his side, I shall by no means believe.
And after 8 days his Talmidim were again inside, and Ta'alma with them. Yeshua came, the doors having been shut, and he stood in the midst and said,
Peace to you.
Then he said to Ta'alma,
Bring your finger here, and see my hands, and bring your hand, and put it into my side, and do not be unbelieving, but believing.
And Ta'alma answered and said to him,
Adonai and my Elohim.
Yeshua said to him,
Toma, because you have seen me, you have believed. Baruch are those who have not seen and have believed.
There were indeed many other signs that Yeshua did in the presence of his Talmidim, which are not written in this book. But these have been written so that you believe that Yeshua is HaMashiach, the Bane of Yahweh, and that believing you might possess Chai in his name.